Nick, you wanted to talk about the election?
Yeah, I think it's really important to talk about the election. I think it's important for everyone to have a moment where enough's enough. I mean, for me, enough was enough 8 years ago. The Undertaker is correct in saying Donald Trump made politics fun again for about 3 weeks in 2016. But it's 8 years later, and there's absolutely nothing fun about this man. To me, there's nothing fun about a man who could be the next president of the United States talking about the enemy within, making it clear that this was not a mistake. This is his go-to line, the enemy within, the enemy within, the enemy within.
It's the enemy from within.
The enemy from within. I think the bigger problem is the enemy from within, not even the people that have come in.
Which he co-opted from Senator Joseph McCarthy, one of the worst people to ever grace our planet. I know people work hard. They don't always have time to go home and do their research. But instead of tuning into your favorite news station of choice, look up the data. See how many times Donald Trump has failed to pay his contractors and workers over the last 30 years. It's in the hundreds. He claims it's because they didn't do good work. This coming from a guy who claims he only hires the best people. I claim he's screwing over the working man. Kevin Nash today told me a story about going into the venue that used to be the Taj Mahal, mentioning Trump's name and seeing the bartender roll his eyes. And the bartender told a story about his father was an electrical contractor, worked hard his whole life to build up that business. And then when Trump did not pay him for the work he did in the Taj Mahal, and the man was unable to fight it because he didn't have the resources to fight it. Trump knows that the people, honest, hardworking contractors, don't have the resources to fight him in court. And he bankrupts them. Their dreams disappear. That's not standing up for the working man. Words are cheap, and he lies almost every time he opens his mouth. But you know what he's not lying about? When he talks about coming after the enemy within. The enemy within. Who is that? It could be anyone. It could be me. An article came out today in NPR, October 22nd, 2024, with a study that showed Donald Trump had issued over 100 threats to people he perceived as his political rivals. He has threatened to impeach and prosecute Kamala Harris. He accused Barack Obama of treason. He said his chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff, Mark Milley, General Mark Milley, should be executed. He did nothing to stop what could have been the death of Mike Pence, his own vice president.
Proud chance, hang Mike Pence. There's a hangman's noose outside.
And now he's gone so far as to say that anyone who criticizes the Supreme Court and other judges should be put in jail. So, Donald Trump, I'd like to talk directly to you. Are you going to put me in jail for criticizing your Supreme Court? Because I think Clarence Thomas is a disgrace to the Supreme Court. I think Samuel Alito is a horrible person who doesn't belong on the highest court in the land. I don't think Brett Kavanaugh's interview in front of the Senate would have landed him a job as a dishwasher, let alone serving in the Supreme Court for life. I mean, I'm so scared that I was thinking about calling you a douchebag in this interview. And then I thought, that's a pretty strong word. Trump might come after me. And I made the decision not to call you a douchebag, even though you are one.
The thing that I think is that people aren't really thinking about is how fucking shit SNL is going to be for the next 4 years. Like, we have, the well is dry. The well has never been fucking drier. We can't keep going back to it. I can't have 4 more years of Trump parodies. I can't do it. I can't look at his face anymore. I'm bored. I need a new thing to happen. Yeah. Well, yeah, that's true. That is true.
We need a complete and total shutdown of all Trump parodies until we can work out what's going on.
Yes. Yeah. People who are annoying me most are American liberals, and their shock and outrage and disappointment and this is not, is this really who we are as a country? It's like, yeah, it always has been.
You were founded on a genocide. Yes, this is exactly what you're all about.
Trump is the most American American you've ever fucking seen. Like that, yeah, that is who you are. I did feel quite bad. I was in a Zoom meeting at work the day after the election. Like 4 people in my team are based in New York. And because I knew this was coming, I basically had no emotional reaction the next day. I wasn't even really thinking about it because I was like, yeah, of course he's back in. Like, I knew, like, yeah, there's like nothing has changed from yesterday to today because I knew this was going to happen. So like I joined the meeting and the 4 of them, like their faces were just drawn, just like someone who's been through a great trauma. And I was like, what's up? Oh, sorry, I forgot. Yeah, real bad.
I was uncharacteristically, for me, optimistic.
For like 3.5 years, I was like, well, obviously Trump's getting back in. And then because of how comedically bad Joe Biden was performing, then when Kamala got in and was doing really well, it was like, oh, well, that's a positive. Oh, that's really good. Maybe there is a chance. I think, yeah. And then like a couple of weeks before the election, I was like, oh, wait. As Americans that are voting for it, they're all fucking insane. And it's quite difficult to sort of get a real handle because the polls are never accurate.
It's a huge issue, I think, that people lie these days, that people lie to pollsters because they're embarrassed about admitting that they were voting for him. I find that strange. If you were embarrassed about something, would you not think to yourself, maybe I shouldn't be doing that?
The key word there is think. This is something that
I think this is
historically are not known.
I don't know if this is are we doing a dissection of how the Democrats fucked up more than how Trump won? Because I think that is part of it. That I think it's a protest vote for a lot of people. I think that the turnout in general was lower, so you can tell that what's happening is both parties are so shite. Most people are just going, fuck this. Very similar to what happened with the UK general election, just totally beginning to disengage, fuck this noise. But if you are a young Gen Z troll, for example, or just someone who wants to put the middle finger up to what the perceive as the establishment, because we have to understand that it's not just a Washington establishment. When they say the establishment, they see that as all these fucking Hollywood actors and stuff coming out for the Democrats. If you're just sick of all that shit, your vote for Trump is just to put the finger up to that. So if a pollster comes up to you, you can't just go, well, actually, I'm a fucking troll and I hate all this shit. That's probably where the lie comes from. I'll just say that to make this thing go away. And also it's kind of funnier because you'll know, we can lead them to think and make them all smug and hoity-toity, which is what they're very good at being. And we know on the day, rug pull, the truth's going to come out. And I think that's, I don't know where we want to go with this because I say that my thoughts are less to do with how Trump won and more just the same thing in 2016. I can sit here and talk very confidently for several hours about why the Democrats lost. It's no fucking surprise.
I will plead devil's advocate and say, obviously, I'm no fan of the Democratic Party, but over the last 4 years, they have done good things. The American economy, out of like every fucking economy in the world, they have been hurting far less than everybody else because of policies the Democrats have put in place. Trump is once again going to inherit a booming economy and then tank it.
Or it for 2 years and then,
So no, I think the problem is absolute political illiteracy from the vast majority of Americans.
This is the problem with the Democrats and their approach because they don't understand that. So I'm going to have to bring up briefly for a sec pro wrestling in this because you can summarize what the fucking hell happened in America with what it was founded upon, professional wrestling. So a lot of wrestlers came out and they picked sides in this. And the one guy that I think made the most sense was Mick Foley, who came out for the Democrats. So the Trump guys are just doing all the kind of way, Trump, whatever. But some of the other people that came out for the Democrats, Big Dave Bautista did. He did a big thing on, I think it was Jimmy Fallon. He did the Democrat thing you do, where basically you just yell and say, if you vote for Trump, you're a fucking idiot, you're a fucking Nazi, you're this, you're that. What Mick did in his quiet sit down, he did the rounds on CNN talking about this, going, I get it. I understand that if you're a working person, why Trump appeals to you, but it's a trick, it's a con, because what he broke down very comfortably was that from the very beginning of Trump's empire, when it came down to building, these big stupid towers, he's fucked over contractor after contractor after contractor. He's going to say these things to you to get him on side, and then he's going to trick you. But what he started from a basis of not saying, you're a Nazi, you're stupid, because if you're just like wee Stevie in Utah who works at a truck stop, you don't actually care about all the LGBTQ plus stuff. You don't care about all the immigration thing. Apart from, you just want some upward mobility. You want to have a better life. And what Trump and Free said this years ago, which is a real weakness for the left, is they don't really like to talk about things like, would you not like to have more money and have like a fancy car? And like, that's what Trump's really good at doing. But what Mick, unlike everybody else right up to Kamala, was able to articulate was, I understand, I get it, but here's why you're being conned, but not in a condescending, patronising way. He did end it by calling Donald Trump a douchebag, but he took the time to communicate with the other side. Whereas what's happened is that everyone's now become so entrenched, what the other side said doesn't actually matter. There's no attempt to reach over. The Democrats, they did it in 2016 as well. If you vote for this guy, if this stuff that he says appeals to you, you're fucking stupid. You're a fascist. You're a Nazi. And because there's no attempt to understand why, because a lot of the why of it was the feelings of the Obama years. And I know there was the 2008 collapse and so forth, but a lot of these people's feelings just haven't been addressed. And then all Trump's done and his side have done is gone, we've got a fucking opportunity to con a whole bunch of people here, and have taken advantage of it. And I just think the Democrats have failed completely to understand that. They don't understand how to talk to normal people. And
I think they actually did quite a good job of that. Actually, I'm going to disagree. Like, over the last, like, the Tim Walz and Kamala Harris, actually, I think they did quite a good job. The whole thing, like, everything Mick Foley was saying, people have known this about Trump. This is not news. People know this. They don't fucking care. They don't pay attention. You can talk till you're blue in the face. You can explain till you're blue in the face to people what this guy is. It's blindly fucking obvious. You just have to look at him and you go, he's a bad guy. It doesn't matter. They are politically illiterate. They are uninterested. They care about how to make what's going to be better for me, what's going to be better for the economy. Trump's a businessman. He had a golden toilet. Durr. I think it is this fucking. But there's also the thing of, like, when you're looking at the demographic breakdown, the vast majority of, like, Gen Z. Young Gen Z men voted for Trump, and I was like, that's interesting. I wonder what's going on there. And then I watched some of them being interviewed, and they were saying things like, well, I mean, if everybody is telling you to do one thing, if you tell a kid to do something, they're going to do the other thing. So that's basically. And I was like, all right, you're all fucking idiots. You've all been raised by TikTok. You have not a fucking brain in your head. You're doing it for the meme. You're doing it for the bit. They don't remember a time before Trump was a political figure. They don't remember a time before that. So probably the last time he was the president, they were kids. And it's the whole thing of the nostalgia thing of, like, things were better back then. It's like, no, you were just 10. Life's more fun when you're 10.
But I think that, I totally agree with what you're saying, but I think they've failed to break through that and identify that, because to me, what you just said, that's as obvious as what Trump is. But I think the Democrats have a huge blind spot for a lot of this stuff. And I think that having the ability to sort of cross the divide and be able to break through in that communication, just like being a good parent. So if you're not good at dealing with kids, it's like, sometimes the kid is just going to rebel because you don't know how to communicate with it properly.
How's Trump dealing with kids, though? It's not. They have not done anything to win these people over. It's that they have an entire.
He's the anti-them, though.
No, they have an alternative media fucking machine being funded by think tanks, being funded by oil oligarchs, being funded by tech billionaires, being funded by Russians. They have an entire. Because this is the thing, you can do what you want, but if you're, like, part of the establishment, you're communicating through traditional media, 18-year-olds aren't going to fucking see it.
Yeah, I wonder how many people actually saw the debates compared to how many people watched Trump on, like, Joe Rogan's podcast or whatever.
Exactly, yeah.
If they see the debates, they see conveniently clipped sections of debates that have been put into 30-second clips on TikTok. That's how they watch debates. And if they already lean one way politically, they'll see something that suits them. If they don't lean either way politically, they'll see right-wing content, because that is how the algorithm works. That is how these alternative media machines work.
It's also possibly why so many of us felt a sense of optimism, because we were all in our own silo.
That's just what I'm saying. Exactly that. Because I think when I'm saying about the present, take that the establishment is not just the Democrats in Washington. Do you mean like Hollywood?
Yeah.
So like Hollywood movies have fucking sucked for like 20 years.
Yeah.
You know, and TV hasn't been much better. So by the quote unquote lefty Democrat things not being good, it's pushed people further and further. You talked about this with the Scottish independence referendum, referenced the BBC, and what happened exactly there, because their coverage of that was so bad, it pushed people into watching Russia Today, the fucking Russian state broadcaster. And I think that's where it's not so much the bad thing being appealing as the good thing starting to, the enshittification of the good stuff is been the problem.
And it was so instructive with what happened there, because you then saw the same thing happen when Jeremy Corbyn was leader of the Labour Party, that all of us, because we were all moaning about how bad the BBC coverage was, and at the time a lot of English commentators were like, shut up, you're just moaning. And it was you're paranoid, it's the BBC, they're the exemplar, blah blah blah. And then they came for their guy, and all of a sudden it was like, oh my god, Laura Kongsberg's awful, isn't she? No shit, right? We fucking tried to tell you, but when it was us, you didn't fucking care.
Yeah.
What happened was all RT had to do was offer a space for debate where the BBC wasn't offering it, and then people switched off from the BBC, they start watching RT, and then other stuff starts creeping into that, and so all of a sudden people that you followed thinking they were relatively normal start saying things like the White Helmets are a terrorist organisation, and you find yourself going, right?
But this kind of comes back to what we've been talking about quite frequently in the podcast about the situation on Twitter. So when Elon got...
You mean?
Sorry.
No.
Yeah.
No.
No, yes, that's what I was thinking. You got it. Just
No.
it's dead. It's dead.
Do you remember when he first got it?
Yeah.
And everybody, we all had the right reaction initially, which was, we should all get the fuck off this thing, enjoying other stuff. And then the journalists didn't fucking move. And I'm like, go somewhere else, because if you create a world where on the fucking BBC and Sky, it still scrolls along saying you can follow us on X. Now, the fascist app, what the fuck did you think was going to happen? People are going to again get algorithmed, and it's like, you're not going to win that fucking fight. Whereas if everyone had moved over and gone, that place is now a Nazi bin fire, come and follow us on this. Any organisation, mass media, that claims to be a Democrat voting or a, Keir Starmer type institution could easily have led that, and they didn't do that. They stuck with it, no offence. But,
No, listen, I am still on there purely because there are people on there that I am talking to. There are people on there that are posting material that I want, and that's why I'm still on there. And at intervals every now and again, when I get completely fed up of it, I go to the other places. So I've got a Mastodon account, although fuck all happens there. It's fucking boring as fuck.
Blue Sky's good now as of last night, because I've gone back on it. I'm really into it now.
I have to say, for Blue Sky looks like it's starting to...
Yeah, it's starting to kick.
Threads is really glitchy. It's so irritating.
Fuck Threads. Don't go on there. I'm not on that one.
Threads is really, really irritating. It is really, really sort of buggy. Threads could have taken down Twitter if they'd had a web interface, and they didn't. It was all on the app on the phone. I was just like, nobody's going to fucking do this.
Threads has also sped run the enshittification process, because all of the technology that is used to, bot farm on Twitter is been leveraged on and Threads. Everything is clickbait. Everything is just like, here's a 12-point thread about something I could have explained in 3 words. I'm not interested. I don't follow any of these people.
I know no one cares about going viral on Blue Sky.
Yeah, it's amazing.
It's no algorithm. It's just you're following your path. There's folk I've reconnected with on there that I hadn't spoken to in like 5 or 6 years.
Exactly same, 100%. Yeah,
same on Threads. To be fair, one of my old pals from Twitter sort of like when they're like, because Twitter is so difficult to fucking navigate. I've had to put so many safeguards on with regards to what responses I see. not that they work, but that it means that often I don't see people that I do want to see, and I often have to actually manually go to tweets and look at what the responses are to them, because the notification thing just doesn't fucking work at all. It's all just a fucking bid fight. But I mean, I am on there for a few people who are posting information about like things, news stories, or like
Well, I think
justice issues that I'm interested in, and that's the only place they're on. So that's why I'm still there.
without actually being hypocritical about it, I think one of the really cool things about Blue Sky is the fact that it reminds me a lot of what Twitter was like before all the journalists and celebrities fucking ruined it.
Yeah.
Because I think that we blame Elon a lot, but I think that was the problem. The energy is exactly what the whole appeal of why Twitter first occurred was like, it's normal people not caring about going viral, not caring about their numbers. They just want to interact, and like it's that it gives you that comfort blanket of going, we're not insane, we're the normal people, and it's the media that's all mad. And that is a really nice thing. I don't know how long that will last for, but I'm going to ride that wave as long as I can.
Well, it might last a bit because there's that kind of attitude of block and move on.
Yeah,
Blue Sky,
not taking the
where
bait.
you don't, don't take the bait, don't feed the troll.
Yeah.
You just block
I've
them.
already had an incredibly sort of weird response from an account that I think must be some sort of bot, because it was, why did you say that with regards to a joke? And I went and had a look at what they kind of, that's a very odd response. When I look at the account, and all they'd posted was a picture of some fruit with yogurt. I'm like, okay, I think you're not real.
No. I'm more surprised when I see an account that doesn't look like a bot on X, formerly Twitter, these days. It is. I don't remember the last time I even opened the app, because it is not just unusable, it's like a deeply fucking unpleasant experience now.
It's why that a lot of the main jump, I understand, I think Taylor Swift has moved a lot of people over, because I don't know if she's joined it or she's encouraged people to join it, but the other one is actually to be wrestling oriented again, AEW, because the WWE bot farm ruined. If you liked any other wrestling company on earth, these bots just, you couldn't say anything. You could just go, I'm enjoying this show, without having 5 people turn up in your replies saying you're wrong to do that. So all the AEW sickos have moved across into the Blue Sky app, and everyone's just having like a big party because we can go and watch these shows again and just be nice and positive about it like we used to do.
That's the thing I really miss
Yeah.
most about Twitter, was that when something was happening,
Watch it
whether it was
live.
a TV show or whether it was a news story or some event or debates, for instance, that you could go on there, follow a hashtag and join in and have fun. And it worked in real time. And Twitter doesn't do that anymore. And none of the others do that yet either.
Blue Sky, I think, pretty much is there. I honestly, my experience, look,
hashtags there, yeah.
Yeah, they do 100%. I mean, basic. I would say the functionality. I feel this has turned into a complete advertisement, but I'm just very excited about this. It is essentially what I said on many episodes back. Maybe it was the Dead Internet one, about how round about 2014-15 they kind of perfected the Twitter functionality. That was kind of like peak Twitter.
Right. Yeah.
Clearly, that is the target, and I would say they're more or less there as it is. There's a couple of things that the app is, I think, better than the desktop version in my experience so far with it, but it's getting there. And I mean, 100%, because they were doing it like last night on Friday night for Rampage. They were all on the live hashtag doing it. So they're back to where it used to be.
Threads is hopeless. It takes fucking ages for notifications to come through. You're seeing content that's hours or days old. Like the live thing does not move well at all. I think it's all because it's based on Instagram.
Yeah.
Which I don't use because
I
don't understand why anybody does. Look at me, like chopping bananas in my kitchen.
Fuck that.
Fuck off.
That's a whole other.
Watching that shit.
We should have brought that up in the Men's Mental Health podcast. It's the dark reflection of all the kind of Joe Rogan-y stuff is Instagram. That's the girls' version of it, in my opinion. We don't want to take this too far into the social media stuff, though, but I think the main point is that the kind of what the Trumpy people would view as kind of lefty media has definitely fallen behind the times. They have completely failed to keep up, and they've stuck with the kind of inshitification platforms, and I think that they should have been much more tactical and flexible and moving on that. I hate Joe Rogan. I think he's a dumbo, but what I will say is that I think that Kamala probably should have tried to engage by kind of avoiding some of that style of media. And then again, I don't know how well she did.
She did.
She could have.
Was on
How well she would have done on it.
Progressive alternatives Not that there is.
No one watches those.
No one watches those though.
I'm
I
saying
hate Joe
progressive,
Rogan, but that
not
shit
really
fucking
progressive,
sucks.
just not blatantly right wing. She was on like the Call Your Daddy.
What?
What?
I don't think that's what it's called. It's a podcast. It's the
Call Me Daddy.
Call Me Daddy podcast.
This is why she lost the election, isn't it? I mean, Jesus fucking Christ.
Yeah.
It was like a fucking
That's
Jimmy
big one.
Savile.
That's big in America.
No, it's a girl. So it was two girls. I don't really know, but because I find all that stuff boring, so if I saw it, I wouldn't watch it. But I mean, I think obviously this all plays a part, but I think a lot of like this has not been a victory that was won online. It's just the.
Is it not Deep Space Homer? Can we simplify and say, is it not? It's Deep Space Homer. It's the idea that no one cares about space shuttle launches anymore, so NASA have to go and find the average American man that can be related to, and therefore we send Homer Simpson to space, because that is what America actually is and always has been.
Yeah, to get
And I think that
America concentrate in Donald Trump.
Yeah, and I think what's happened is that for so long there's like wee Stevie stop in Utah trying to listen to these debates, and people are using terms like straw man argument and Dunning-Kruger effect, and he's like, I don't think Freddy Krueger was a straw man. He doesn't understand what any of this shit fucking means. And I think that's the problem, that they've completely lost how to take, because I don't like the Clintons, but I think that Bill Clinton, the magic of Bill Clinton was that Bill seemed a bit like a Homer, and this allowed them to sort of translate more of those, I don't want to say the Democrats are necessarily progressive, but, lefty ideas to the working man, which has been what the Democratic Party have quite consistently failed to do since the 2008 moment of Obama.
Like, we're shitting on the Democrats a lot here, and they did just lose badly. But can we just say, actually, they largely stand for weakened versions of the right things, and they've tried to go about things in a reasonably decent and sensible way.
Mm-hmm.
But the problem is actually that a solid half of America, roughly, appears to be in thrall to a fucking cult and impervious to facts and information, and that a nasty, dark underbelly of permission to be horrible has been granted, and people are reveling in it. And you can try and say, well, maybe we should have done this and maybe we should have done that. Do you know what? Maybe the people who voted for them should take responsibility for being fucking filthy cunts.
Yeah, I would agree with that. I think also the other thing is the religious aspect to it, because a lot of America...
Don't even fucking start me on that, right? Fucking religious aspect. Fuck you. He is absolutely antithetical to everything fucking written in the New Testament. He's a fucking disgrace of a man.
But the reason why it's caught is that because so much of America is raised with basically magical thinking as their default. Unlike over here, where we don't really have the same relationship with religion in the UK that the Americans do. And I think that if you're able to start believing in really, really fantastical shit, because a lot of your reads in the Bible, it's an allegory, it's metaphor, this is all very literal. And I think that's why things like QAnon begins to kind of happen, because from a young age, if you're not really told to take it as, here's the facts, here's what's happened, you're very anti-science from like a very, very young age, it's ingrained. I think that's the beginning of, you're distorting your reality, you're moving away from truth and reality. And that's why Trump can come in, who to us is like, this guy is a fucking car salesman at best, but because all their pastors are just car salesmen themselves, it's like, they can't, to us, this is the most obvious Hitler to car salesman guy ever, but to them, they probably won't see it that way. And I think it's trying to put your head on their shoulders to go, what is the environment that's allowed this to happen? How was it created? Because that's what we had to do with World War II. We had to go back and go like, well, why did the Germans do this? So you have to put yourself in the uncomfortable position of empathizing with a Nazi.
There's an extra layer to the American thing, though, because...
I know you don't want. I know no one does, but I think that's the only way the Democrats, I think themselves were maybe a bit frightened and felt uncomfortable with that, and that's why it's got more and more polarized, as opposed to kind of going, right, we can clearly see a slip happening here, because if 2016 happened, well, all the stuff you're saying about the media, the youth being, they're not really clicking with us. They've known for years and years and years we've got a problem here.
This has been a project by certain fucking people. I mean, they're like, the idea of Elon Musk, a man who's absolutely fucking determined to go and colonize another planet, complaining about globalists, fuck off, right? This has been a project by people with, particularly the fucking libertarian bros from the tech world, to fucking literally take over America. And they've fucking done it. They've managed it.
It's been a very successful project.
Sorry, well, here's some of the stuff here Peter Thiel's saying, but I think we can sit here and we can do all the, the usual political analysis, and I think if they had done this or if they had done that, I think one of the things that it's difficult to take into account is just how exceptionally fucking thick the average American is. We don't have much of a grasp of this, and it's intentionally undereducated or miseducated.
Yeah.
Millions and millions of...
It's the same as England, because
UK voted for Brexit.
Aye,
Boris Johnson.
We did, but even those thick English people are smarter than the average thick American.
We can probably overestimate the amount of people who are completely bought into the whole Trump project. I think that is probably actually quite a really small proportion compared to the people who he's pandered to one or two of their core issues, like abortion or whatever, and they've thought, well, the Democrats don't support me in that. That's my most important thing. I'm just going to vote for Trump. I'm going to hold my nose and vote for that guy. Because at the end of the day, they've only got two choices, basically.
I know, but, they're worse. Because the people that have sort of fallen under a spell, they're basically in a mental health crisis as far as I'm concerned. And I can actually feel some empathy for people who are completely kind of caught up in a spell. The people who see that he's a bad guy, but he's going to do this thing or that thing that they like and vote for him, they're worse. They're not better. They're worse.
Yeah, they are, 100%.
Yeah. That is very naive, but I think trying to put myself in their shoes, which is very difficult to do, but if you try and understand it from the perspective of a kind of ordinary, not particularly smart American person, they've looked at the previous 4 years who was in power, where he'd said he was going to do all these things and didn't achieve any of them at all. In their personal circumstances, in their life, him being the president actually wasn't a disaster to them at all for that period. In fact, they may have actually felt that they benefited in some ways, in terms of the business did quite well over that period or whatever. Mm-hmm. And then, coronavirus hit, their barbershop was, decimated, they lost loads of money. And they've been struggling ever since. There's so many businesses that never recovered from that. Mm-hmm. And, as much as the good Democrats may have done quite a good job to try and mitigate some of those problems, globally we've just not been able to deal with it, because it was always going to take, 10 or 15 years to get things back, because you can't just have folk sitting unproductive for 6 months and not have a huge global economic catastrophe off the back of that. So I think folk have kind of looked at that and said, what is my options here? I can go back and have that guy that actually didn't affect my life very much, even though he was saying ridiculous things. We can try that again, or I can just sit here with no business and just run my lifetime.
Over-promising is a big problem, and I think that the Scottish independence movement's fucked up in this as well, where I think that the Democrats have burned the hope candle at both ends.
But I'm sorry, massively overpromised. The whole, I'm going to build a wall and Mexico is going to pay for it. Miles of wall built, fuck off.
But that's the people who are holding their noses are going, he talks a good game, but he doesn't actually get these things done.
Yeah,
because again, we're on the other side of the world. We're on the other side of the world. I would feel confident in saying that we paid more attention to the Trump presidency than a large percentage of Americans.
No, I was going to say that what Free just said there is let's just, I know it's uncomfortable, but imagine you were a Democrat in the States for a second here. If you had got, this is the kind of person that you could put you, I think, on a Joe Rogan, also unpleasant experience, and you could say everything that you just said, and a lot of your kind of slightly more dumbo Americans would go, oh yeah, that makes a lot of sense. that's the kind of communication that I don't think that's what they don't do that. They're not good at doing their part
they're very
anymore.
smug and condescending and unlikable.
Yes, and I think
generally.
that is part, and this is what.
But Tim wasn't he? Was really good.
Well, but it was too late in the game.
It was too late.
Is the problem? There's a lot of moving factors to defend the Democrats. Obviously, you know, the whole thing with Biden, We've been over this before, but that's what I'm talking about. That getting to break through that communication barrier. Hence why I was highlighting that thing about Mick Foley at the start, because I thought, God, if you'd all been talking like that for the last 4 years to sort of explain context, explain what we're doing, because you're correct in the sense that actually a lot of what the Biden administration was doing was actually very good, but they weren't really translating that, because what they hadn't noticed was your average American isn't watching fucking CNN, you know, so you're not going to be getting this.
No, I
messaging.
know. There was there's a lovely little clip. I'm not sure if I sent it to you or not, but it's of a guy getting tariffs explained to him.
Yes, you said that last night. It was amazing. Absolutely pitch perfect. Talk to the listeners about this, because it's brilliant.
Please insert.
Oh, it certainly was. You will. I will.
It's absolutely beautiful.
Okay.
But we're like,
I'm voting for the man that's going to take America back, baby. Donald J. Trump, man.
What's one of your biggest issues?
Probably going to be inflation, because I sell T-shirts and all that stuff.
Your T-shirts are made in the USA?
No, my blanks, no. See, that's the thing Trump's talking about. If we tax them, hit tariffs, the same item they're making over there will cost the same to make over here.
We pay the tariffs.
Well, the companies pay the tariffs, not us.
China doesn't pay the tariffs. We do when they come in.
No, it doesn't work like that.
Like if I'm buying 1,000 shirts from China and there's a tariff on it, I'm paying the tariff.
Well, no, whoever's getting it imported in is going to pay the tariffs.
Yeah. I'm the business owner. I'm paying the tariff. China doesn't pay it. I pay for it.
Well,
Like if I'm the business owner and I buy 1,000 shirts,
I see what you're saying.
China's not Jolly. So I'm trying to explain.
Who pays the tariff? They're paying the tariff.
Do you think that? Do you believe that?
No, 'cause I was trying to say, because I sell merch as well.
I sell you something for $10, right? You're going to sell it to him for $20.
Exactly.
But then you pay me $15 for it. Are you still going to sell it to him for $20?
Am I going to sell it to him for $20?
If I raise the price $5.
Oh, it's going to have to go up.
Right. So
Yeah, the consumer foots the bill.
have a nice day.
The big slap in the back as he walks off, like, good luck to this guy.
But that level of right. So and then what happens next? And then what happens next? And then what happens? So yeah, well, no, China's going to pay for the tariffs. Okay, and so what? Even if that were true, which it's not, but even if it were true, then what will China do to the price of their goods?
Okay. Because this is what Laura was saying, which is this attitude of, this is not who we are. Well, yeah, you think that because you live in fucking Los Angeles, California, or you're sat in the middle of the White House. But actually, this is exactly who your country is. And what you've all done is you've cubbyholed yourselves away in this very kind of progressive, liberal, Democrat, whoa kind of world. And you've completely lost touch with the actual horrible reality of America. And that's the bit, in order to fucking course correct, they need to re-engage. But I'm now concerned that they've basically left it so fucking late. Because it was like, 08 happened, and it was just like, wow, this is wonderful. But without the context of, this is kind of a reaction to the George Bush administration. And we did the same thing in Scottish independence, where the only reason why the SNP became a fucking thing to begin with was because of Tony Blair fucking up so bad. And then that we were never given this ringing endorsement ever. We were riding the wave of protest vote. And I think that it's a similar thing, but different. And I think that we've made mistakes in the independence movement that are very similar to this, being a bit smug, being a bit condescending, saying this is who Scotland is, without realising there's actually half the country going, no, it's not. You know, and that's become an issue on this side of it as well. And I think that we brought up social media for a reason. That slow shitification of Twitter over the years, I think, is maybe arguably one of the major causes of it. That it was happening so slowly that we didn't even notice it. People, you mentioned folk that you knew like 5-6 years ago that left, that you contacted with. That's about the same time that Pete left. Pete was like, "This is fucking shit. It's not fun anymore. I'm out." Yeah. And I only hung in there because the account was doing quite well, and almost that OCD part of my brain was like, "I'll finish what I start." But then I got to the point of it becoming undeniable, and I was slowly fading off as well. But the point is, you still go on there and you see the same fucking journalists, the same newspaper columnists, they're still all on there, and they're acting like none of this has fucking happened.
Yeah, I mean, I learned to sort of curate what I'm looking at by basically putting everybody that I want to actually hear from on alert, and then I use the posts from accounts on alert feed, and that tidies out most of the crap. Yeah. And I've been doing that for a couple of years now, and it's pretty effective at just keeping who you actually really want to hear from. But it's, I'm going to say again, if the people that I wanted to hear from weren't there, I wouldn't be there anymore. But there are a few sort of things that I'm interested in that are still there.
And I think that, so I don't know if the people you're mentioning are more kind of like ground level people, perhaps like us, right? That's good to hear, because I think though that there are people that are maybe further up in the media that maybe should have been more savvy to go, like, and I've said this before, that, you know, it wasn't like the account was the biggest thing on earth, but I realised, and I look back and go, I think I was part of the problem. That I think like actually encouraging people to stay on this ship is not actually in hindsight the right thing to do. It should have been abandoned, get the fuck away from this thing. This is actually really bad. And I think it's important for people to take, you know, responsibility for that and say that actually, yeah, we kind of fucked up by little incremental ways that have then built to the circumstance that we're now in.
Yeah, it's like shopping centres have got like an anchor store, you know, like your Marks and Spencers or whatever. When that leaves, that's when everything shuts down and that place collapses.
Yeah.
So like your
starts looking like that.
All your BBC guys, you know, your main, you know, broadcasting people, once they go, if they hang around, then folk are just going to stay.
Blue Sky's really good because at the moment, and it is done by bots, but the good kind of bot where they do mirrors of a lot of the major news accounts. So the BBC Breaking News account, for example, when it posts on Twitter, it's immediately mirrored onto Blue Sky. It's not official. There's quite a lot of these accounts at the moment. Oh, right. So basically you kind of get like and they do announce that. They don't pretend that there's something they're not. It has in brackets saying, you know, kind of like automated account ghosting this. But it essentially means you can take all the good bits that you liked about Twitter, move it over to this, and continue as you were. And that is, it's now got 14 million plus users, but it's started to get that going again.
It's irrelevant. But for the younger generations, for the future of politics, it's completely irrelevant. 2015 Twitter is as good as it was. Yeah. Gen Z aren't fucking interested. They're not on Twitter. They're not looking for desperately searching for Twitter.
Excellent comeback. So where do we go from here? That's a good point for you.
Good fucking question. I don't know because they've been deliberately fucking undereducated. Also, the only people having kids right now are like Tories and Republicans. So the future bedrooms. It's I understand the impulse to the tendency towards counterculture. I understand the rebellion against the establishment. What I don't understand is how for a fucking second you could think that is Donald Trump and Elon Musk and Peter these guys have establishment stamped on their fucking arses. What do you mean? I don't understand how conservatism has... Because I remember a few years ago, people like fucking Ben Shapiro and Dave Rubin and all these fucking drips online being like, conservatism is the new counterculture. And everybody was just laughing at them. But now I realise that the everybody that was laughing at them wasn't actually everybody. The people who were laughing were not the target market. Because the target market were fucking politically illiterate idiots who... didn't know why it was funny that conservatism is counterculture is like they don't know why that was funny.
It's like
so they're like, oh yeah, you're right.
The right wing saw that the left were doing well with the like victim culture stuff, so they thought, actually, we're going to do that now. We're going to pretend we are actually the victim.
Yeah. I'm not a racist. I'm concerned about white genocide, is what they did. They just fucking turned it. And
I've got a fucking mind for white genocide, the way I feel.
I think that's quite perceptive of what you said, though, about that idea, because I think that Bernie Sanders was a really strong advocate for bread and butter stuff. You've got to get that right. And this is the same thing the Scottish independence movement fucked up as well. The SNP fucked it up. And it was because... we'll do this in a separate episode. For example, the railway now in public ownership's not very good. I completely understand and empathise with the person that's like, look, I want to support trans rights. I want to do all this stuff, but actually I need these basic things to work. And what it started to come across as slowly is because they sucked the bread and butter stuff, they were kind of cloaking themselves in the progressive politics. And I think you can actually see this starting to happen in a lot of Hollywood films. This is why people are like, why are you being racist and misogynistic about these new Star Wars films? Problem identification. The movie sucks. You're correct. The movie does suck. But rather than sort of taking the nuanced approach and going, okay, this is probably to do with scripting and filmmaking and da-da-da-da-da, It's just, okay, oh, it must be all this LGBTQ stuff.
The shoehorned in diversity that is done in a really clunky, off-putting way also sucks.
Yes.
Not because gay people suck, because the filmmakers
I think
sucks.
that kind of gradual over like 10, 15, 20 years of just like the day-to-day things are getting worse. Everything, the enshittification of everything costs too much. The service you're getting is worse and worse and worse. But it's like, yeah, but at least we're not Nazis becomes the cry of the Democrats or the SNP. And I think that's part of it.
Not to be like a bitter leftist. I think if Bernie Sanders had not been screwed over by the Democratic Party,
he'd have won.
I think
hell yeah,
a different fucking timeline
hell yeah.
now, because this is I think it was Craig years ago in the podcast said Americans would love a bit of socialism, but you would have to wrap it up in something else, like when you put a tablet in cheese for your dog. You have to...
That's what we've been talking about for the past hour. That is the point, exactly. Here you are, Craig.
The secret is just to lie.
Yeah. Well, no, just to speak to them just to not use wanky leftist terms, to talk to people, meet people where they're at, talk about issues that matter. It's like, see if you wanted to win elections here and you ran your whole campaign on the fucking bins, you would win by a landslide, because people we all care about the same fucking thing. The Democrats feel like they're very fucking out of touch with the average person. They also feel like they're still playing politics when the game has changed, and they've not realised the game has changed. It's just...
There's an arrogance as well that kind of feel like they are owed the votes of like minorities and immigrants, where you have to earn it. Like the main example I thought was quite good was like when that guy at the Trump rally is just like some comedian that no one had heard of, and made that comment about Puerto Rico being a garbage dump in the ocean or something like that. And I saw all these kind of left-wing talking heads being like, oh, this is the game changer. This is worth millions of votes to Democrats, because now, you know, all the Latinos are definitely going to vote for Kamala now. It's like, no, because like Trump has been saying stuff like that himself for like the last 20 years.
And it's not would agree with you. That's why they moved to America and became American citizens, because they also think Puerto Rico's a garbage like them.
And this is weird. Exactly. To come back to these talking points thing, the left and your sort of Democrat people, they'll use things like the term people of colour and this kind of like big group, with none of that nuance, because now based on the voting, we now know that this person of colour is not very happy with that other person of a different colour, and they're all now arguing about it because they can tell that's a much more nuanced discussion.
There's a great Tom Lehrer song called National Brotherhood, which is all the white folks hate the black folks, or the black folks hate the white folks, and one of the choruses, and everybody hates the Jews. Right. Tom Lehrer was Jewish. Is Jewish, he's still alive, amazingly. But the problem with it, and we get the same, it's like the conservative front bench is incredibly diverse. They're all cunts, but they're incredibly diverse. And we're like, why is that black person doing that against the interests of their community? It's like, because they don't feel that they're part of a community. That's the difference with cunts. Cunts don't feel like they're part of any community or have any responsibility to people who look like them. They don't think they have any responsibility to anybody other than them and theirs.
There is quite a weird thing about like sort of new Labour-brained people, which I think that, you know, Clinton and Harris and so forth would kind of fall into this, because Joanne did it. We talked about, sorry to bring her up again, but in her books, this kind of need to compartmentalise everybody into like, you're one of them, you're a this, you're a that. And it's like, if you've actually been out normally working in the world, you absolutely are aware that is not how things work. Everybody is an individual. Okay, you two happen to originally have been from Africa. But I mean, even within, the continent is fucking huge. Like even there, like it's not like they're all the same. And I think accidentally a lot of the Democratic talking points, it starts to get really weird about, they talk about like the gay community. But it's like, well, kind of what is that? Like, there's such diversity within that community that you can't really talk. So when it comes down to rights issues, this gets a little bit easier. Tucker always uses the phrase, what do you mean by that? So rather than sort of like these kind of slightly waffly generalizations getting down to, we're talking about reproductive rights. We're talking about human rights. And what do we mean by these rights? And that's where they weren't very good. And Hillary sucked at it. Biden wasn't very good at it. Harris isn't good at it. What do you mean? Whereas to come back to your point about this, Bernie was really good at that shit. Bernie was able to translate these kind of slightly loftier thoughts and translate them into basic language that the everyman can understand, because that's how communication fucking is supposed to work.
Yeah, there's also the thing that Bernie Sanders had that most politicians don't is this sort of air of authenticity, which shouldn't matter. Like, what should matter is that you're good at the job, you're proposing policies that are going to make people's lives better. They agree with that. They're going to vote in their interest for those policies, and you're competent enough to enact them. But that's not what matters, because we're a very sort of celebrity, personality-based culture. Now, Bernie had the air of authenticity. He had the creds to back it up. He's like, I have been on this fucking train since I was 18. Look it up.
Great voice. Bernie's got such a great voice.
He speaks with it a lot of passion. He fucking cares about these things. And he's a very good orator. There was lots going for Bernie. But
no, the Democrats had got their "it's my turn" thing for Hillary, and they blocked him.
I think a huge, because this is Trump's second time running, something that's really fucked the Democrats over is how alarmist and sensationalist they were about Trump the first time.
Yes.
Where they were like, he's Hitler 2.0,
Yep.
He's going to ruin the country, he's going to do this, he's going to do that. And for some people, their lives did get worse under Trump, but for a lot of people, they didn't. So then people are going, oh, well, they're saying that he is Hitler, they're saying that he's a Nazi. They said that last time and it was all fine.
They've actually fed into this narrative, because the other point I don't want to forget to bring up is that if you keep yelling, you're Hitler too, you're Nazis, try not to be endorsing a genocide while you're doing it.
Yeah, it's bad luck.
But the other thing is that by losing this time around, they've accidentally fed a very coherent narrative of the last election being stolen.
Yeah, because he won the popular vote this time, it gives weight to the whole stop the steal, yous all rigged it.
Yeah.
Even though I don't believe that for a fucking second, but it does. And I have to say, I am a bit surprised. I felt like Trump was probably going to win. I thought that it would probably be due to the horrific gerrymandering, electoral college. I didn't think he was going to win the popular vote. I am a bit surprised by that, I have to say.
I will reiterate that although, I don't sort of condone ridiculous conspiracy theories, I do think probably hundreds of thousands, possibly millions of votes have been either not counted due to like signature differences and things like this. I mean, there's vast quantities of these provisional ballots, voter challenges, and there were huge purges of voter rolls in a couple of months before the election, whereby they do, where they do like name challenges based on this person is a felon in this state and has the same name and shit like that. And that's what they did in 2000 with, when Al Gore lost by vote. That's
the kind of dirty politics that they've always been engaging in. So that's the kind of dirty politics they should be prepared for.
Yeah, but I think there was a huge amount more of it. I think a lot of people have moved on to voting by mail. And the ability to just say, that's not the same signature bin, that's going on a lot in a lot of the swing states that are currently sort of got Republican administrations in. So there will be some of that. Then it will take a long time for us to see what the figures from that are. And I'll fucking bet you anything that popular vote is nowhere near as high once we've started to see some figures for like how many votes have actually not being counted. And with regards to the voter roll purges, we'll probably never even see that. The only person that kind of reports on that is Greg Palast, and he's worth sort of looking out to a certain extent. He's a bit odd, but he's been covering voter purges for 25 years now as a journalist, and he's an economist and statistician, and he does understand what's going on behind that. He wrote a great book about the 2000 election called The Best Democracy Money Can Buy. So that's gone on. In addition to Monday morning quarterbacking, as the Americans like to call it. We need to look at what might happen next.
Yes, let's do this now.
And so there are 3 amendments to the American Constitution that we need to be aware of. The 19th, the 22nd and the 25th. The 25th is the one that discusses whether or not somebody, like how many terms a president can do, how many terms they can do for a vice president. So, because a lot of people go, can he do another 2 terms now? Under the current constitution, as it stands, no, he can't. This has to be it. And I think he himself has said this will be it. If Vance takes over from him in the first 2 years, let's be honest about this, he's not a well man.
Yeah, if a McDonald's toilet heart attack happens, I'm actually not for that anymore because this JD Vance guy is...
No.
I think someone's going to kill him, and I think it might be a Republican, because if you really were, if you were an Agenda 2025 man, now's the time to fucking do it, to get your boy Vance in there to enact all that shit. Because I don't know if Trump actually fucking cares about any of that. I don't think Trump doesn't care about policy. So all he wants to do is avoid the jail. But the people riding the coattails, though, those are the ones you got to watch for.
This is what you need to know and pay attention to. Trump can't serve another term unless they got a constitutional amendment change, which would require 2/3 of the Senate. So that's not
They have the House and the Senate.
They have the House and Senate, but they don't have a supermajority. So they're not going to get that. So that's not going to happen unless things go so desperately wrong. Now, I'm not saying that things aren't going to go so desperately wrong, but as it stands, that's probably not going to happen. So Trump can't stand again. Vance can only stand 2 terms himself in full if he serves less than 2 years as a president by taking over during the vice presidency. So Trump would have to serve until at least 2027 for Vance to do 2 years and then get another. So if they are planning and scheming, this is what we need to be looking out for. They'll let Trump do 2 terms and then fucking 25th Amendment him on some grounds of him being ill or incapacitated. Or like you said, they'll maybe just organise and this time the guy won't fucking only get his ear. And then Vance will get just under 2 years and be able to stand and do 2 more terms. And it'll be 10 years at fucking...
I mean, it's a perfect plan. It's that you have the clown to distract while you're doing all your actual Hitler...
Your horrible shit.
You're doing all your Hitlering in the background. And then by the time people go, oh, wait, it's the damage is done. Yeah. So that, I think, is what they're going to try and do here.
That's 22nd Amendment with regards to what terms you do. So if you're a vice president and you take over as president because the president stands down or dies or what the fuck ever, for whatever reason doesn't continue their presidency, if you do more than 2 years in the role, you can't stand for 2 terms, you can only do 1. You can only stand for 1 more term. So that's the timeline we're looking at with regards to them if they're doing nefarious shit. That's 22nd Amendment. 25th Amendment is the one that allows them to remove him. And the 19th Amendment is the one that allows women to vote. Because trust me, they're fucking coming after that. Peter Thiel has said as much.
Yeah, he is.
I'm just going to go and buy a MAGA hat and I'll slowly start U-turning gradually over several episodes to make sure that I'll be fine in the great apocalyptic war, World War III.
You know, since everybody else seems to be looking out for number 1, I do think that we should discuss a rightward swing in terms of the podcast. Too much fucking money we could be making if we didn't. And if we just betrayed all of our principles and values and started spewing out right-wing propaganda, we could be fucking...
We could rebrand it as The Pivot in 2025.
I mean, I'm game if you are.
Some podcasts just want to watch the world burn.
We could change
milk the idiots.
Change the name to Mangry Scotland and have it be a Manosphere podcast.
We could sell like pink berets with Make Scotland Great Again.
Yeah. And then we could also sell rainbow ones with Make Scotland Gay Again, so that then there's discourse between the 2 factions as well.
And ride that wave of angry disagreement.
Yeah.
Okay.
One of these boxes that Laura gets from Amazon, which has my last name on it. And the first time I saw this, I was like, did I get really drunk one night and we get married?
So because it has his name on the Amazon address, and then when I was getting one said to me, I just changed my name, but I forgot to change my surname.
So that's her excuse, and she's sticking
to it. So yeah,
I would never take his name.
It's just like
you would take mine.
It's just like an alt-right takeover of the United States. Slow creep, and then the next thing you know, you're locked in forever.
For you?
Is it for me?
Yeah.
Oh, it's for the laptop power adapter. Thank you for that. Right. Okay.
we also need to think about Ukraine.
Well, yes, exactly. I mean, I think that probably to cut to the chase, and it's not just talking about Ukraine, it's the whole fucking kit and caboodle, isn't it? It feels a bit World War III is actually possibly conceivable at this stage in the game. I think America should do us a favour, and they should just have their own wee civil war.
Get out of their system.
Get out of the system. I think get it over with. Have a big uprising, fuck around, we'll watch it on the TV from a distance. It'll be like watching The Purge. And see what happens, dust settles, and then hopefully no one has to do a World War III. But I think we might end up in a mainland conflict in Europe.
That's exactly what I think. Because I think the project is to pull America out of NATO. So NATO will then have to be us, and we will have to fucking get our shit together. We won't. I'm slightly, you know, when we were discussing the sort of ramifications of the UK elections, I said then they've put Fiona Hill in charge of the Strategic Defence Review, which means they're taking the threat of Russia seriously. Now, I don't like Starmer, but that is fucking gold. That appointment is fucking gold. I think so highly of her. So fucking highly of her. So, but we need to be prepared for the fact that the next 5 to 10 years could see really, really dark, fucking difficult times for us.
Mm-hmm.
It's just, you sort of look around and you're like, right, okay, Trump in America, Putin in Russia. What the fuck's going on? Like, I mean, you look at like all the world leaders, like, what the fuck's going on? How should the fucking worst people in the world manage to rise to the very thing is in
this shit floats? But because a lot of people actually do like the idea of the guy that goes, I'll fix this, strong guy, I'll do this.
I mean, we saw it in the Second World War. I imagine a lot of youthful Germans had like buyer's remorse when they were on the front lines going, oh man, yeah, this isn't quite what I thought it was going to be, is it? And the Gen Z kids will be the same way, because I don't think I'll be fighting in this fucking thing. I might have to, but I mean, certainly if you're the fucking idiot that thought, I'll vote for Trump, that'll be a funny troll, and then, like, you know, flash forward 5 years, your how could have been flowing.
You changed it.
Yeah, exactly, you know. Congrats, mate, well played.
Listen, the fucking tariffs thing is going to fucking fuck them so badly. There's a lovely little story that I fucking saw yesterday, which is it's a woman in Pennsylvania who's not a Trump voter, who but like her husband works for a manufacturing company that gets loads of components in from China, and the boss of the company had to sit them all down and say, right, I'm really sorry, but you're not going to get a Christmas bonus this year because we're having to use all of our available cash to advance by like a year's worth of components before the tariffs come in, so that we can keep our prices competitive for the next year. So that's going to take up a whole load of cash flow, and we're going to have to pay for storage for them and all the rest of it, because holding stuff is expensive.
Yeah.
And they were all like, but we thought China would pay the tariffs, and just like, you know, that, but you know, and I have to hope that as that fucking, assuming that he does it, assuming that he fucking gets his way on it, that people will see, but they're still fucking stuck with it for
I think that's the only thing we've got really to be optimistic about in this, is that a lot of the stuff that he's proposed are completely, contradict what a lot of his supporters want.
Yeah.
It's even he's like, rich like Elon Musk and all this. Bezos, who didn't come out in favour of him, but didn't
against fucking let the Washington Post endorse
these guys. Well,
dick.
It's a disaster for them if he brings in these tariffs. I mean, there's all these rich supporters don't actually really want that stuff. They just thought it would be a way of getting in the guy who'll do the stuff that they actually do want to happen. So,
and I mean, all of these people who think that they can, that they think that they can control them, like all the people who thought that they were the adults in the room the first time, like those people who live with chimpanzees and then wonder why one day, like, the chimp gets a funny mood and fucking rips their face off, right? He is a completely unpredictable maniac.
Yeah.
And he's a solipsist, and I cannot fucking stress this enough. Other people aren't real to him. Somebody that I was speaking to, the other day was saying, well, I mean, at least he's a patriot. He loves his country. No, he doesn't. What are you talking about? Fucking idiot. No, he doesn't. Nowhere is real for me. He likes cheeseburgers. That's not the same thing.
Yeah.
Right? Nothing and no one is real to him other than his dick in his stomach.
I did really like him working at McDonald's, actually. I don't know if you've seen Alan Partridge, Scissor Isle, where Alan gets the job at Tesco.
It is exactly that.
And it's just the idea that...
It's a kind of zen state.
Yeah, it's like I said, it's the implication is that Alan's finally found his place. This is exactly the level that he should operate on. And I did think, watching him at that McDonald's, going, maybe there's like an alternate timeline where this is where you work and you're just fine and the world's not a mess.
His level would just be sitting in a McDonald's eating the food.
Yeah.
I don't think actually doing any kind of work would suit.
So Vance should do, if Vance wants to do all the evil shit, just anytime he tries to push back on it, just order him a fucking drive-through and then like go eat that in the corner.
Like, yeah, but Happy Meal, let him like build the wee toys.
I think the only thing we have in our favour is that I actually think Vance might be a fuckwit too.
Well, he is. He's definitely
and so, I mean, we're back.
Yeah, that's the question. Can anyone else pull it off in the way that he has?
We're back to having to say nice things about Dick Cheney, which is just makes me want.
I was going to say something nice about Hitler.
I have to say that, respect for Dick Cheney for being an incredibly accomplished Machiavellian cunt. He was really, really good at it. And J.D. Vance, you're no Dick Cheney.
Yeah, I was putting that. During the campaign, did you not have the same feeling about they kept saying, like, these guys are Nazis, it's like Hitler? And I was sat there going, I don't like Hitler, but he was quite competent. Like, he did.
I got to hand it to him. I got stuff done.
Like, he did always think. And this was from the guy, he couldn't even open the door of the fucking garbage truck. It was that time when they were like, this guy's Hitler too. This guy's not Hitler too. Come on.
I do, I fuck it. See all the American late night comedy bullshit. I fucking can't stand it. But Haley Joel Osment did, he was on Jimmy Kimmel and he was doing a J.D. Vance parody. And it was like, everyone keeps saying I'm a weirdo and I can't order a donut like a normal person. So come with me while I order a donut. And it's like, and it's about 5 minutes long and it just escalates. Because Haley Joel Osment is a fucking fantastic comedic actor. Doesn't get enough props.
He plays it totally straight. It's what makes it so funny.
Good.
Yes,
so just go on YouTube and type in Haley Joel Osment, J.D. Vance. It's fucking fantastic. That's the only time I've laughed about this whole thing.
But is that what we're saying? So we're saying if they somehow can be competent in their evilness, we're all screwed.
Yes.
But we're banking on the fact that they are as thick as the people that voted them in.
They are, but there are people behind the scenes who have, as Tucker said, have been planning this. There's people were talking about the difference in funds raised for the campaign, how Kamala had raised like $1 billion, and I think Trump was 325 million. It's like, if you think there was 325 million went into making this happen, you're a fucking moron.
Well, I mean, that goes all the way back to
years.
the sort of Supreme Court decision on unlimited spending on campaigns and, super PACs and things like that. There's so much dark money. And the stuff that we will never have seen. And there will have been we know that Twitter's algorithm is well fucked. But I mean, we're not even fucking looking at what's going on. I mean, like, I'm not on TikTok, I don't know, but I understand it's mental. And there's so many other little fucking silos that people are in. We've got no idea. I mean, as with Brexit, everybody's seeing a personalised advert, and these days with AI, that could actually be fucking generated for you. It's not even like there's somebody fucking sitting putting together slides like there was in 2016 for, So there's the possibility that the world gets very, very, very dark. There's also the possibility, and these things are not mutually exclusive, that we do get to spend a couple of years really, really laughing hard at people reaping what they've sowed.
I mean, it wasn't that it happened with Brexit, where you had a bunch of people who voted for Brexit, and then they were like, "Oh, my life's worse." But like, and they were like, "Oh, well, now my house is in Spain, I'm not allowed to be there." And it's like, yeah.
What did you think was going to happen there?
I would say not that satisfying. because I'm still living in a post-Brexit world where it also affects me badly. No. So it wasn't funny enough.
No, I'm not saying that the trade-off there is worth having at all. I'm saying
Like, do it for the bit, do it for the comedy.
all I'm saying is that if the cupboard is bare, you will eat whatever crumbs there are.
Yeah, I'm not.
I think the only ray of sunshine is we're going to have 4 more years of fake Melania. And I love fake Melania.
I love the fake Melania. Do you think they've got more than one? Or is it
I know, I think it's multiple. I think it's multiple. I think someone pointed out that there's an assistant that is usually with them.
Yeah,
that
who's
looks
got the exact same hair.
basically, so at any point she'd go to the bathroom like Superman changing into the phone box, put the glasses on. And
the fucking shades that look like ski visors.
yeah. I think I'm all in on fake Melania being real.
The real one is in a prison cell on Epstein Island right now.
I do think all the fake Melania rotations would be, if anybody, and this is not an endorsement of this idea, but if anyone does want to take him out, a good way to get close to him would be, like those like fembot assassins in Austin Powers, like the machine gun. Sounds like a fake Melania. Or it doesn't have to be fake Melania. Just any reasonably attractive woman could probably get close enough to him.
Definitely replace J.D. Vance with an android, and I don't think many people would notice.
Oh man, probably do less weird shit because it would have to
Could order a donut successfully.
less sweaty.
Oh well, 4 years, they've fucked around, you'll find out.
Good luck, everybody.